Hello and welcome to WTF, where we help you transform food in your kitchen. I'm Janie.
I'm Roman.
And on this channel, we talk about unique ingredients, techniques, and show you new recipes for your kitchen. And today, we are doing an ingredient spotlight on Carrageenan. So Carrageenan, it's a class of gelling agents derived from seaweed. And there are two main types we want to talk about. One is Kappa and one is Iota. So the big difference for you folks out there who don't want to dive into the science of it is the Kappa creates non-elastic brittle gels that are very clear, and Iota creates elastic gels that can be opaque. But why do you care about that, right?
Exactly.
So the reason why you care is we get a lot of questions about, I'm trying to make this recipe, how do I make it creamy? How do I make it gel harder? And there's just so much range in the different types of gels that you can have that we wanted to really showcase how these two ingredients work individually as gelling agents, but also more importantly together, and how they really can create a very special effect, which Roman's gonna talk about in a little bit. Now, one disclaimer I do want to talk about before we get too far into this is that you might be out there like, Carrageenan, I think I've heard, is that a scary ingredient? Should I be worried about it? Yeah, and the answer is no. So if you have heard about Carrageenan being somehow dangerous, that is an unrefined version of Carrageenan that is not used in food-grade products. And at Modernist Pantry, all of our ingredients are food-grade, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, I'm going to pass it over to Roman because I really want to dive into the experiments that he has prepared for you today in order to show you the special characteristics of these products. Roman, can you tell us a little bit about what we're seeing on the table in front of us?
Well, right here we have the two different Carrageenans. We have the Iota and the Kappa. And I have used these in different amounts just to show you the differences in the gelling and the viscosity of each gel. We're going to go through it today, and we also do have a formulation where we use the two of them together because they do work synergistically. So let's try that out. Let's show you.
Okay.
Yeah, as I spoon out the concentrations, I noticed that the 1.25 one is very thick, very viscous. It almost seems like it's set, although it hasn't been heated, so it's not gelled all the way. And then as you get down to the 3/4 one, it's almost completely liquidy. You can still see that it's very viscous as it sticks on the spoon just a little bit before falling back into the beaker, but it's very loose. So the differences between the 1.25 and the 0.75 is very, very different. What I did notice in the Kappa concentrations is that starting from 0.75 was very loose. Once I got to the 1.2, it was very, very thick. It was very gelled, almost like it was heated and set. Big difference between the Iota, which at its highest concentration wasn't as gelled as the Kappa.
Now you can imagine if we did gel these liquids, you're going to get a super creamy gel over at the Iota side, and then a brittle, very hard gel over on the Kappa side at 1.25%. I would say almost like agar, if that's what you're familiar with.
Pretty much the same. So let's find out what happens when we blend the two and see what effects that has on texture and viscosity. As we go from the higher concentrations of Kappa down to the lower concentrations of Kappa and higher concentrations of Iota, I'm finding that in the beginning, the high Kappa concentrations are very, very stiff, very brittle, very firm. And as you move, it gets a little less firm and a little less firm. And as you start to creep up into the higher concentrations of Iota, were the softest and the creamiest. They were not as hard, and they were very smooth. There was a lot of give. You can go right through it. Whereas the higher concentrations of Kappa, it was a little bit more difficult getting the spoon in there, so you knew that they were a lot more firm.
So the big question here is, why do you care, right? And how are you going to use this information? So Roman's going to tell you a little bit about how he used these experiments to inform his R&D process. But first, I'm here to implore you to please subscribe and ring the notification button and also hit like, because we do rely on that information for the algorithm to put our content out there so we can make more great episodes of WTF.
Exactly.
All right. Now, I know that we just did a very cool recipe based on this particular research. Can you talk a little bit about what you made and how you got there?
All right, so I came up with this idea for a panna cotta made out of feta. I think I explained it in the video as I'm not a big fan of the hard and the crumbliness of feta. You know,
I don't like it at all.
I love a creamy cheese, something that I can spread on the cracker, and so I came up with this idea using feta and these wonderful hydrocolloids here, the Carrageenans, to come up with a feta that I would enjoy to eat.
All right.
And so I did. And I used the knowledge that I gained, knowing that Iota is a creamy hydrocolloid and Kappa is a little more stiff, a little more brittle. I came up with the concentration of using 1% of the Iota and then 0.5% of the Kappa in my recipe to get a really nice, smooth, creamy feta, but that holds its shape. And I have one right here to show you.
Yeah. So that would be, if you're doing 1% plus 0.5%, so that would be like what, 2/3, almost like 2/3 Iota, 1/3 Kappa.
1/3 Kappa, exactly.
Right? So when we think about what Roman just showed you in terms of these gels, you're really looking at, I would say right around here,
This
right?
is the one. I was just going to say that. You're spot on. So this is the concentration that led me to this.
Yeah. And just keep in mind, because this is cheese and not water, of course you're going to then need to play with it. It's not going to be
It's
like...
not going to be exact.
Yeah. So sometimes people are like, can you tell me exactly how to do this recipe that you've never done? I'm like, no. But yeah, let's cut into this
Yep.
and see what the texture is.
All right, so look at that.
It's incredibly creamy. Ooh,
Look
yeah.
at that.
So,
That is exactly where you want it, right there.
I'm going to try it. So normally I hate feta, so I'm just going to put that disclaimer out there. So I'm going to see whether I like this creamy feta more than the crumbly feta.
All right, let's see.
All right. I love the texture of it.
It's beautiful.
It still tastes like feta, which I hate. But the texture is really, really good. So I think panna cotta is the right way to describe it.
Yep.
It almost tastes like, I almost want to say it's got like a little bit of a soft tofu feel to it.
It does definitely have that kind of texture. A little bit more creamier than tofu, because you know tofu can break up sometimes, be a little brittle. But this, as you can see, like this is smooth. This is almost like
definitely spreadable.
Look at that. You get that on the cracker, and you are good to go. This is going to make it on my cheese boards from now on.
Yeah. So, well, as you may have noticed, we're not doing today's recipe on camera in this episode, but later this week you're going to get the full video of Roman walking you step by step through how to make this feta panna cotta. So stick around, and of course subscribe and like and get notified for when that comes
And drop
out.
a comment. Drop a comment. We
Yes,
wanna know what you
please.
feel.
We need the algorithm to like us. So until next week, from here to Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen, I'm Janie.
I'm Roman.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one too. You're right.
Yeah, when we filmed it, Janie, I tried it. It's fantastic.
I did.
If you like
hate the
feta.